Okay, guys, welcome back. Welcome if you are new here. So, before we get into today's video, I want to give you something to think about, especially if you are a parent. So, imagine building your entire career off of your children. From the moment they're born, every milestone, every emotion, every private family moment is monetized. But it's not just for money, it's actually a stepping stone for your own fame and opportunities. It's something that we have seen a lot in the world of family vlogging, but in some cases, it does feel far more blatant than others. And there's one family that I think perfectly represents that, and that is Madison and Kyler from the FishFam. I've actually wanted to cover this family for a while, but after hearing that Madison was cast in the spinoff of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, I figured now was the perfect time. And I did not watch the original show, but I do understand there is a formula to make that show work. There's always the quiet one, the easy target, the one that viewers are supposed to kind of see as a victim or as innocent, the one that's constantly being bulldozed in the group of friends. And I have a feeling that Madison is probably going to fall into that role. But what I want to do in this video is take a closer look at how Madison even got to the point of being cast on a show like this in the first place. Because for nearly a decade, she and her husband have built a brand off the backs of their children, turning their kids into content, into entertainment, and ultimately into a launchpad for their own careers, both of them. And the more you look into it, the harder it becomes to buy into the image that they put out there online of being this picture perfect family. Because despite their branding that they've created, I just don't think that Madison and Kyler are these harmless, passive people who just accidentally stumbled into fame. I think they're incredibly calculated and they're very aware on how to manipulate an audience in order to stay relevant. And hey, maybe I'm completely wrong about how Madison will be portrayed on the show. Maybe she won't get the nice girl edit at all. But honestly, that part, it just doesn't matter. Because regardless of how that show decides to package her, the bigger issue is it still stands for this video. This is a family that has spent years and years and years leveraging their own children for fame, attention, and opportunity. So with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so first let's rewind a bit and talk about who this family actually is, how they got started, and why they got into family vlogging in the first place. Because they definitely had a huge incentive and honestly a built in blueprint for success. Why? Because Madison grew up with Savannah LeBrant. They were really close as kids. They actually considered themselves cousins. They weren't, but that's how they refer to each other. Back in 2016, that was when the LeBrant fam channel really was taking off. Cole and Savannah had just started dating. Their channel was exploding, and the growth that they were seeing at this time was honestly insane. Their views were skyrocketing basically overnight. And then toward the end of that same year in 2016, who suddenly decided to launch their very own family channel? Madison and her husband, Kyler. And I'm going to show you a clip real quick from 2019 to kind of give you some context to Kyler. Because while I feel that Madison is just as guilty, she's just as complicit in this all, I do think that it has been Kyler who has been the one pushing for all of this to happen the most, kind of like Jonathan Jolie and his wife Anna, their dynamic. Again, it's equally complicit, but it's just that the husband is the one that's orchestrating and pushing this all more. At least that's what it looks like. So we have a lot of examples to come, but here is Kyler telling the world, or CBS News, to be more specific, what his main goal in life is. And it's not being the best dad, it's not being the best husband or Mormon, because spoiler alert, they're Mormon. It's not any of that. Just take a listen to this.
My goal in life is to become as famous as possible, right? I mean, that's the goal. The goal is to become as famous as possible because we make more money.
Yeah, if your number one goal in life is to be famous, that tells me everything I need to know about you. But you know what? Lucky for him, since his music career never really took off, just like Josh Herbert, outside of being connected to one of the biggest family vloggers on YouTube, was the fact that they had identical twin girls. That became a huge selling point for their content basically immediately. Cute twins equals views, engagement, sponsorships, all of it. And pretty early on, they managed to get a major boost when Jake Paul featured the twins in one of his videos, which Looking back is honestly kind of wild because let's really think about that for a second. They brought their babies to a content house, Team 10, if you remember, which was known for their nonstop partying, reckless stunts, chaos, sexualized content, just not being a place, that most people would consider appropriate for their babies, for their kids. I feel in general, I just don't think I would have thought to take my kids to the Team 10 house. Anyone else? But I guess when you're chasing views and connections, those concerns suddenly become secondary or possibly even non-existent because Madison and Kyler were never going to pass up an opportunity to attach themselves to someone as massive at the time, at least, as Jake Paul. Or more accurately, they were never going to pass up the opportunity to put their babies in a Jake Paul video. Because let's be real, Jake wasn't trying to collaborate with Madison and Kyler individually. He wanted two cute babies for his content, and all he needed was parents who were willing to provide them, and not all parents would be. So, it's not actually an easy thing, but he found them and that collaboration with Jake Paul definitely it wasn't a one-time thing. They were collabing with him pretty consistently for a while, for a few years, I would say. And at one point they uploaded a video titled, get this, Jake Paul's Colorful Balls. I'm sorry. You're telling me no one stopped for even a second and thought, hmm, maybe this is a weird title considering our kids are in the thumbnail and it's a video with children. Really, be so serious. Family vloggers always want to act shocked when people question their intentions, but then they upload stuff like that because they know what gets clicks. And this is the thing. This is what happens when engagement, when the channel, when the views, it becomes more important than personal boundaries that you should have with your children. And we're going to talk about that more here in a minute because oof, but it's bad. But everything gets focused around, what's gonna perform well, what's gonna get attention, what's gonna make people click, even if it's weird, even if it's inappropriate, even if it's, involving your own children. And of course, they also milk the fact that they were connected to the LeBrant family every chance that they got, yeah, because at the time, Savannah and Cole were absolutely exploding online, and Madison and Kyler, they clearly understood, being connected to that family can boost our channel, so let's run with that. But more importantly, it wasn't just Cole and Savannah. They knew how important that Savannah's daughter E was for views. And anytime they featured her in their thumbnails or their titles, their views doubled and sometimes tripled. Like this one thumbnail I'm going to show you, close-up shot of E with her mouth open, her tongue out. Again, it's something that all family vloggers know, all people know, that these type of thumbnails attract a certain audience. And yet they continue to make these thumbnails because they work. That video alone has 2.7 million views. But yeah, besides doing collab videos, some of their top videos that are not collabs where their twin girls are swimming or doing gymnastics. So, notice a pattern? Anyone? Also, pregnancies always do well, and Kyler and Madison have had 5 of them, but not only have they used their pregnancies to boost their channel and family brand, like so many of them do, but they also clickbaited the health and wellness of their pregnancies to also boost engagement. Get this is insane to me. Absolutely insane. A few years or so back, Madison was pregnant with their, I believe, fourth child, and they posted a video titled "The Baby Came Early," and Madison had a shocked face. And there was a little baby hand in the thumbnail with medical stuff wrapped around their wrist. I don't know the right term here. Hopefully, you know what I mean. It was a concerning thumbnail, and if you were a fan of them and you were following Madison's pregnancy journey, you would think for sure that she had the baby early and you would be concerned, thinking, "Oh my goodness, like what happened? Is she okay? Is the baby okay?" Well, you know what? A baby did come early, but the baby wasn't hers. It was her sister. Her sister had a premature baby, and Kyler and Madison clickbaited it to make it seem like it was their baby who came early. Oh, what the I'm sorry, and maybe her sister was okay with this, although I couldn't find the video, so I'm thinking maybe she wasn't. I actually found this thumbnail on their Reddit page. I'm gonna put the Reddit page here if you wanna go check it out, but But if this was my sister pulling this kind of stunt while I'm in and out of the NICU, worried about my preemie baby, bye. You would be done in my life. Nobody would be using my children, my preemie baby, to boost their bank account. It's sickening. It's vile. You have to have such a disconnect as a human to think that kind of behavior is okay because it's something must be just deeply wrong with you if that's your first thought. Your sister's in the trenches and you're like, "Oh, this would make a good video." Again, I couldn't find the original video, so maybe they took it down. But anyone remember when Whitney Levitt, also from Secret Lives, got ripped apart, rightfully so, for making a TikTok dancing in front of her baby while they were in the hospital sick and she was answering questions of some stupid TikTok trend? Something in the swig cups, I guess, because this is very similar and very disturbing vibes that I'm getting. But pregnancy and birth content, we all know that's a gold mine for family vloggers. Seriously, nothing, we know this, nothing pulls views in quite like a pregnancy announcement, a gender reveal, a labor update, and then the big dramatic birth vlog thumbnail with, somebody crying or a very graphic shot of the baby coming out of the birth canal. That's peak engagement. That is going to be the peak for these channels. And the thing is, these creators know it too. Once the baby is born and that birth vlog goes up, the views usually never hit that level again, at least not until the next pregnancy. Which is why it kind of seems like these families operate on this constant cycle of new baby, content boost, something that we kind of see. Maybe it's coincidence, but it's like views are down, pregnancy, views are back up, views are down, pregnancy. I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But it all just kind of feels bizarre because with these pregnancies, with these births, instead of just living in the moment and soaking in those first, few days with their newborn, their brains are already on the upload schedule. The baby is barely here and they're already thinking about the thumbnails, the titles. Case in point, Madison posted a picture from her hospital bed of Kyler already editing the birth vlog saying it was coming soon. Sir, your wife just gave birth, and I'm sorry, but if you have the mental bandwidth to sit there editing footage together and exporting a YouTube video, just a mere couple of hours or so after your child was born, your wife just gave birth, that tells me everything I need to know. Because most people in that moment, they're exhausted, they're emotional, they're overwhelmed, they're running on basically zero sleep. Meanwhile, Kyler's over there just rushing out a YouTube video. Imagine your husband looking at you after labor and instead of being fully present in those moments, he's like, "Babe, hold on, I got to get this shot. I got to edit. I got to do this. I got to do that." He's so focused on the channel. And this is exactly why people cannot stand family vloggers and their BS excuses because they like to say, "Oh, it's just capturing memories." No, this is a full-on business. And actually, just a couple of years ago, Madison and Kyler posted on their Instagram that they had a new family member, which wasn't actually a family member. No, this was a woman who was a, I guess, family entertainment manager. Imagine having someone else in charge of managing your family for entertainment purposes. Like, I'm sorry, that's really weird. And it should not be normalized. And unfortunately, that's the direction that we're heading. That this job even exists should scare us all. Okay, guys, this is my dog, Luna, and when I adopted her, I became really intentional about what I feed her. Because when your dog is your family, like Luna is to me, you want to actually recognize the ingredients going into their bowl. That's what I love about Sundays for Dogs. The beef recipe is made with USDA grade beef heart, beef liver, plus ingredients like pumpkin, blueberries, kale, and spinach. Foods you would recognize shopping for yourself. I also love that it's air dried, so it feels more like feeding real food instead of something overly processed. And Luna comes running the second she hears the bag open. It also includes things like flax seeds, zucchini, and fish oil for overall wellness and skin and coat support. And the fact that it's just scoop and serve makes it so easy for everyday life. At the end of the day, after everything Luna's been through, Giving her real food made with real ingredients just feels like one of the simplest ways I can love her well. Your dog deserves a diet as fresh and nutritious as yours. Make the switch to Sundays today and get 50% off your first order using my link or code behind the screen below. So, a point that I see brought up some and not nearly enough when it comes to family vlogger kids is how much time is being spent making content and how much time is actually spent learning in school. And I found this clip from a while ago that I think gives us a bit of insight on Madison and Kyler's priority or lack thereof that they put on their children's education.
Okay, so I just got home, picked up the girls from school. They're just over here working on, they have to do 20 minutes a day on their Alexia app, and it's like a reading app, and we've been so bad at doing it. So finally, I'm like, you guys have to do it. I guess they're supposed to be on level 6 by now, and they're only on level 2. So their teacher sent me an email. She's like, your daughters are a little bit behind on their Alexia app. Oh shoot, I didn't know they were gonna notice. So we're gonna work on that. Okay,
Now, I was reading the comments on this Reddit post, and it's important to understand that during this time, I don't know about today, but during this time, a couple years back or so, that Kyler and Madison had not one, but two nannies, and they both work from home because they're full-time YouTubers or content creators. So why were their kids so behind in school to the point that the teacher was reaching out and Madison saying, "Oh, I didn't think the teacher would notice." That's scary. And I actually think, well, I know that's why so many family vloggers decide to homeschool their kids because they don't want teachers to notice that sort of thing and hold them, the parents, accountable. And actually, ironically enough, at one point a couple years ago, Kyler and Madison decided to pull their two twin girls out of school and homeschool them, making it into content, of course. I don't know if they still are homeschooled. Am I surprised in the very least that they even dabbled in the homeschool world? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Now, something we have talked a bit about here on my channel, but wanted to expand on a bit more here is the documentary that Kyler and Madison were a part of, Born to Be Viral. So, this was a documentary that followed different family vloggers over the course of years, like possibly 5 years or more. And there are some moments that really shed light on who Kyler and Madison are at their core. Again, they try to paint themselves as a cute, relatable family that's just doing this to capture family moments, but that's just not the truth, and it never was, never for any of them. So, first, I want to show you this clip of Madison talking to her daughter about what it's like to get recognized out in public, being a part of this channel, and this really should go in one of the top 10 worst family vlogger moments. I 100% believe this. So I'm going to show you this and then I will tell you why I think that after.
You feel like your life is different than your other friends?
It's like so cool that so many people know me, but never mind.
No, tell me. I want to know.
When we're like going fun places, sometimes they stop us what we're doing. Like I like doing pictures, but like so many pictures every second.
But do we just say no and walk off?
No.
Because then I feel like bad.
You say yes. Then if we just say no, then they're like, they're kind of rude. I don't want to follow them anymore.
I know.
What if that happened?
I don't like making people feel bad.
Me either.
Disgusting, right? Because ultimately, what Madison is teaching her daughter is that saying no, it's not really an option, that her own comfort comes second to keeping other people happy. Her daughter is literally expressing that sometimes she wants to live a normal life, which that's valid. That's completely valid. Every child deserves privacy, downtime, and the ability to not have to be constantly on and performing for the camera and for others. But instead of respecting that, Madison's response is basically, "Yeah, but we don't want to disappoint people, right?" And I'm sorry, not sorry actually, but that's such a damaging mindset to instill in a young girl. Because where does that end? Seriously, at what point does she learn that her boundaries actually matter if she's constantly being taught that other people's wants come before her own comfort level? That making strangers online happy is more important than listening to herself. That's how you raise a chronic people pleaser, someone who feels guilty for setting boundaries, someone who thinks that saying no makes them selfish or mean. And that can lead to some very unhealthy, even dangerous situations later in life, right? I mean, am I the crazy one here? This is just that was such an insane comment to see a mother telling her young daughter, just sort of building the foundation for how this girl's going to think about herself for the rest of of her life. It's actually very depressing. It's very depressing. It's very sad to see. But there was a moment in the documentary that Kyler gets very upset, very defensive. And that's because darkness hates light. And the producer, I assume, was asking them about child exploitation. And Kyler gets very pressed about it because it struck a nerve. So I'm going to show you a clip of that first.
We always make sure all the kids are happy. So I don't feel like we're exploiting our kids. I
I mean,
think
it's
we've
kind
just
of a vicious cycle. I mean, you're doing it right now. You're exploiting us and you're exploiting kids right now for your gain.
It's a valid point. How do you feel about what we're doing?
I'm allowing you to do it. I'm allowing you to do it because
there's a story to be told.
there's a story to be told.
Why are you getting so defensive over a pretty straightforward and a very valid question? And honestly, I think it's because on some level he knows exactly how this looks. When Madison says, "Oh, we just have a story to tell," you kind of have to ask, what story exactly is that? What's the title of it? How to build a career off your kid's entire existence? And then when Kyler talks about it being a cycle, because the documentary is also discussing child exploitation, yeah, that argument, it doesn't really hold up. First of all, he literally agreed to put his family in the public eye. And second, the point of the documentary was to examine what happens when kids grow up online. That's why they followed these families for years. It wasn't meant to glorify it. And if anything, it sounds like he was frustrated because he realized the conversation wasn't going to paint him as the perfect, hands on, ethical parent. And that's probably not a great feeling when he was starting to realize that, especially when your entire brand depends on people believing that narrative. They actually later, after the documentary was aired, talked about how they didn't love how some of the edits came together and that they filmed for 5 years and that they were surprised that they didn't pick clips that were cuter. I think that's where they used cuter situations. It's like, yeah. You're surprised the producer didn't pick clips that only made you look like the perfect family? And I know this is a comment that comes up a lot on my channel, even people saying, "Well, aren't you doing the same thing? Aren't you also exploiting the kids by talking about them?" And to that, I would say a couple things. First, the focus of my content isn't the children, it's the adults and the decisions that the adults are making surrounding their kids. The kids are not the entertainment for my videos. They're the subject of concern, yes, but they're not the point of my videos. They're not what's drawing people into my videos. Do you know what I mean? And second, if nobody talked about this, nothing would ever change. If everyone just stayed quiet because it's not my place, then the behavior continues and continues and continues. Conversations don't happen in silence. Reform. It doesn't happen in silence. Change. None of that. I'm not sitting here re-uploading the family's content, which I've seen plenty of fan channels do. I'm pointing to the real, already public examples and discussing what they represent in a much larger issue we have with child influencer culture. But the reality is, if people didn't, start questioning this years ago, we wouldn't be seeing documentaries, legal discussion, or even just basic awareness that more people are finally getting about the long-term and even short-term impact of growing up, of putting your kids online, and that conversation matters. And to kind of add to the clip of them talking, them saying they have a story to tell, I want to add in this clip from the documentary because Kyler and Madison, as well as all family vloggers, these parents, they love to say, "Oh, we're just capturing real life moments and uploading them like a home video." But this clip I'm about to show you proves that that's not the case, that there is literally nothing natural about family content.
You're being extra silly today. You keep moving. Stay there.
Huh.
Okay, look at mommy and make those funny faces like. No, just look at her, not me. Do it when it does it, okay? Do it when it doesn't turn. I want the full song. No, you're not, Madison. You're not playing.
I want to do sideways.
Madison, whenever I film these things, I think of editing. I'm
I
editing.
don't like this angle because it's opening, so I'm trying to get you to redo it from the side.
I'm not seeing anything. I will let you know. I want you to stand in front of this piece of paper with tape on it. Do the Macarena right there when the Macarena starts. Listen to me. I can't. I can only do it if you're cooperating. And if you guys are cooperating, I can't do it.
Can you just shoot me dancing? I want some other angles of me dancing. We'll just do no song. I know. It's just because that sounds not me in Phoenix. It's fine. Ready? Watch. Just get me shots of me dancing.
I'm done.
Why can't you just give me shots of me dancing?
Yeah, I don't know about you, but the only choreographed home videos I remember of me are my cousins and I absolutely butchering a dance routine in someone's living room and forcing our parents to sit through it like it was the biggest thing of the year. I don't personally remember my dad directing my mom on how to pose like it's a photo shoot, and I don't remember sitting there scared on the counter watching while my dad was having an emotional meltdown like a petulant child mid family memory and all. I just don't remember that. Yeah, that's not a childhood home video or a good memory. That's a set that these kids are working on. It's just their home, not an actual movie set. And so since this is all happening at home, they wake up and they have to perform for the camera or they have to do a TikTok video in the bathroom or in the living room or wherever, you can see how the lines would be very blurred for kids. This isn't child actors like so many people want to argue that there's no difference because this is happening in their home and it's being disguised or it's being labeled as home videos or as memories when it's anything but. I also just don't think that home videos are meant to bring in your mortgage, and everything else for your home, but that's just whoops. That's just my opinion. And as far as money goes, Kyler and Madison have addressed that they do have savings set up for their kids, but that the money in general that they make, it goes into a family account, i.e. their bank accounts, to support the family. Which, I mean, I wonder how Madison justifies flying to Arizona to get her hair done by that hair by Chrissy or, all that stuff. I wonder how that all ties into supporting the children as well as the other luxury splurges they've done. But in that same interview, they said that, oh, they're the ones who drive the kids to these places, set up things, blah, blah, blah. So I guess that's how they're justifying it, because they play a big part in it too. It's not just the kids. Madison has also talked about the negatives that people bring up with family vlogging, like watching their videos.
We get comments sometimes saying, "Why do you guys are just using your kids for money? Why do you exploit your kids like that? Like that's dangerous with like pedophiles and things like that." And I just try not to think of it that way. I think there's people just put negative like on everything. I love like when we go out in public and people are like, "You're our biggest inspiration. You inspire us to have family."
So yeah, it's basically the if I don't acknowledge it, it's not real approach. Like let's just pretend it's not happening and not think about it. That'll show everyone, right? It's such a weird mindset to live in, just ignoring it, acting like it doesn't exist, kind of putting the wool over your own eyes so that you can justify what you've already chosen to do. But the thing is, pretending doesn't actually make it disappear. It just makes it easier to look away from, which is only harmful for the children involved. And that's exactly what Madison, Kyler, and all other family vloggers, mommy influencers, supporters of this are all doing. And it's gross behavior given everything we know. There's literally no excuse. So, yeah, it's crazy that child exploitation is what boosted the careers of Madison and Kyler. And truth be told, their views are currently in the toilet, but it doesn't even matter. I mean, first off, they've already made millions, but now Madison is signed on to do a reality TV show that's also going to help kind of catapult her into a whole new level. And it's just wild to me because she wouldn't have been asked. She wouldn't have the life she has. Same goes for Kyler had they not used and used and used their kids at every last turn. It's like they pretty much used them as long as they could. And once the views died down, they are now going to, I guess, pivot into pushing Madison out. Quite frankly, the same could be said for many of the moms going onto that show, even the ones who want gold stars for putting emojis on their kids' faces now, as if they too didn't exploit their kids to get to the position that they are now. But I guess that's a conversation for a different day. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you thought about it. Make sure to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. It definitely helps out a lot. Thank you as always for being here. I hope I see you guys next time. Bye.